So what kind of differences do you see there? TikTok Shop is also known for elevating experiences and videos that are not as polished, not studio level quality as compared to, for example, Instagram. What kind of differences do you spot from the data that you're gathering?
So what's interesting is one of the other big platforms in Asia is Shopee, and that's also big in Latin America. And they're a marketplace. They are not a social platform, but brands do go live on Shopee and they do it more as an event. And so I think one of the differences we're going to see, and again, there's a lot that we're looking forward to. We're looking forward to Twitch scaling what it's doing. We're looking forward to Instagram Meta coming back into live. Because there are these other channels that are there that have audiences, can aid discovery. But I think it is also about the audiences that are on the platform. And I think just a great bellwether for live commerce as a whole is Whatnot. And Whatnot in the US raising another 260 million at 11 billion valuation for collectibles and then doing live. And I think that shows that there's different audience niches as well. And so I think if the different platforms can play to those niches, again, I think that raises the whole industry. So that's something we want to look for by market. But I think the differentiator at the moment that we've seen and why TikTok Shop is so dominant is because that discovery format, that community format, which the other platforms don't necessarily have. And so it'd be good if some of them develop that. I think it's never good to have one dominant player, but we'll ride that wave while we can. You want a market to be liberal, to have choice and all those kind of good things. Let's see what develops in some of the other markets, and particularly where there is no TikTok. TikTok was obviously not allowed to continue in India, for example. And so I know there are a couple of platforms that are launching to take that place and launching shop functionality. We had obviously a similar issue in the US, but that's kind of almost resolved. Similar in Indonesia. They're just addressing those different market dynamics and different requirements. But I think the one that will show us some real different things, I think, would be Africa, and just excited comes out of there because of its vast nature. And who knows whether they'll launch cross-border there? I don't know. Maybe it still will only be single market, but I'd love to see what starts to happen there. I think the real differences, though, are in the style of presenting and what actually resonates with your audience. And so one of the things that hasn't exported well from China is the very Chinese way of selling, the very loud way, lots of bell ringing and things like that. And culturally, that doesn't necessarily work in other countries. And so what we're seeing again are those brands, those hosts that succeed, adapt their style to the market. And that's important because it means they understand their audience. They're driving the engagement. Some people don't like loud noises when they've got their headphones on and they're scrolling through. So, it's how you manage that. And I think that's the learning that as brands step into live commerce, you start to test, start to have different channels. And what we see, I think, as I've mentioned, it's not just about having the studios, it's having the channels. And so there are certain brands in Southeast Asia which will go live at the same time across 11 channels. And so they're doing the different products, they're testing the different formats, and they're starting to do old-fashioned A/B testing. They're starting to test scripts, so to see what's actually working at the same period of time so that they can get an apples-to-apples comparison. And so I think what's going to happen is we're going to start to see the kind of professionalism and the analytics from the ad tech and martech world find its way really into live commerce, where historically it's been, let's just get a camera, let's get a light, we've got some product, let's go live. It's going to be much more about, let's plan this right, let's plan to be successful. Let's not try and do this on the fly, but let's professionalize it. And ultimately, that's what we developed Stickler for. And that's Finn, the founder's vision was, well, let's provide a professional piece of software that the industry, even in China, doesn't have.